morning and welcome to Extension and Engagement Week. We're glad you're here. I'm Marshall Stewart, Vice Chancellor of Extension and Engagement, and I can't tell you how glad I am to be with you today as a part of this celebration of all that we are as a land-grant university when we think about engaging with Missourians. You know, when you think about what this is about, it could actually be thought about in this way. And some of you have heard me say this before. Extension Week or Engagement Week, however you want to frame it, is really for some sort of a Super Bowl. It's sort of the end of a celebration of a year, and you look back and see all the things you've done. For others who come from my part of the world, it's NASCAR. It's the Daytona 500. And it's looking forward, that first race of the year where you get in and you begin to get excited about the future. But whether it's looking backward and looking at where we've been or looking forward to where we're going, we're excited that you're here to be a part of this. I'm really glad that we have so many faculty, administrators, so many people that make up the MU community with us today. You know, we did that a few years ago and we opened this up and invited all come because engagement is not just extension, it's the entire university living out its land-grant mission. But I'm very proud today that today we're going to focus specifically on MU Extension because that is where it all begins. And for our faculty, for our staff, you know, we talk about engagement and outreach and all these wonderful things, but extension is the bedrock. It is the cornerstone on which it's all built. So we're excited today to bring this to you, whether you be with the MU Extension community or the broader community of University of Missouri. We're excited about that and looking forward to that. We also are really glad that we have many guests. You know, we've opened this up so people across the state in local communities, partnering organizations, wherever they may be, can be a part of this. And that's an exciting thing for all of us. So regardless of where you sit, what role you have in those various groups, we're just glad you're here. You know, I think about how we got to where we are. Well, I think about our retirees, and we've got a lot of retirees listening in today and watching and viewing this and being a part of our community. And it's because of their great work that we get to stand on their shoulders today to continue this great legacy. So to our retirees, we say thank you for being here, being a part of this, and continuing to support us in so many ways. I also think about groups like our new philanthropy, our new cabinet on philanthropy, and how important that is. You know, a new group of leaders who have stepped forward to say, we want to help you in terms of gaining new opportunities for funding and resource development. And I'm excited that they can be a part of this conversation today. We're also glad that our new Extension and Engagement Advisory Committee that has been working really hard over the last couple months is now in place and continuing to give us great advice and input as we move forward. One of the things we're going to be talking about in the next few weeks with you is a new group that we're establishing called the Friends of Extension. The Friends of Extension will be all those folks that have been at the local Extension Council level, the regional councils, the state councils, and many other folks who over the years have supported us, and they just want to be a friend, a partner of the University of Missouri through Extension. So more to come on that. Again, exciting things to come, but we're glad you're here. Whatever has brought you here today, we're glad you're here to help us think about the importance of our service to the state of Missouri and beyond, because that's what land grant means. It's unique, and it's in that we are the ones that take that message out to the people. We make a difference in their lives at the community level. So again, thank you for being here to help us celebrate that and to think about what we can do in the future. Now, you know, this year we've talked a lot about resilience. We've talked a lot about coming back. But today I want us to really think about not only coming back, but more importantly, going forward. What does that look like for the future? And we're going to talk about that over the next few hours as we're together. Actually, the rest of the day, as many of you will continue this afternoon. And tomorrow morning, as we go into another part of our work where we thread what we did last year in broadband forward and really go into workforce development this year. Because it's important that we understand that, yes, this has been a difficult and challenging year, but we have been resilient through it, and our resolve is strong. And we're going to be better coming out of it because we have thought through it, we've pivoted, and most importantly, we have focused on the people that we serve, and we call them Missourians. And if we continue to do that, everything will fix itself as we go forward, because that is the mission, to serve, to make sure that this institution and all that we are in the university here in Columbia and across the 4 campuses of the University of Missouri system continue to live out that land grant idea. You know, we have a packed schedule. We have a lot of things going on. We're going to have things tomorrow with All Things Missouri and Workforce Development. We're going to be looking at hearing from speakers, from all kinds of guests. But all those things have been packaged in a way that hopefully give you an interactive experience, something that we think you will enjoy, something that will continue to keep you interested, and again, give you a chance to interact with us as we go forward. You know, this morning, I'm really glad to present to you someone that many of you have heard about, but maybe you haven't seen her yet, because she came to work with us about 10 months ago. You know, we thought we'd get Megan out. Megan and Silvey would go out just like the rest of us do when we get hired and see the state. But, you know, that didn't happen because soon after she came to work with us, we fell into what we know is now the coronavirus, the pandemic. So what she did is pivoted her work and the great team that she has that are making all this possible today to really focus on our internal communications with you that work in Extension and also our outreach across the communities that we serve across the state of Missouri. She comes to us from Health Professions, where she most recently served as their Director and Chief Communications Officer, and I'm really glad we've got her. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I give you Megan Silvey.
Extension now and participating in my first MU Extension and Engagement Week as a part of the team, even though many of you may recognize me from lurking around this event in past years. We do have a lot going on today. We have live guests, we have video presentations, we've got opportunities for people to connect with each other. So what I'd like to do is walk everybody through our event environment, the event guide. If you're watching the stream right now, you have at least found the event guide and the first session, but I want to walk you through just a couple of things, make sure that we're able to all stay together and connected today. You can see here, this is the Extension and Engagement Week event environment homepage. What you're first probably going to click on is the My Schedule, and that'll pull up what you're seeing now is My Schedule. This is where you'll see the sessions that you're registered for and where you'll find the information on each session. We'll click into this opening session, which is how you found us this morning. One tip I would recommend for you is to right-click this live stream link and open that in a new tab. And what that will give you is the ability to have the live stream open here and still have your event guide open here where all of your tools and interactive capabilities are. Inside this session, you'll see here you can take notes, you can add a photo, that'll show up in the activity feed. You can take a poll for this session. You can submit a question live. Many of our presenters today will be answering live questions. And you can link out to the speakers here and find out more information about who is presenting today. These are the live polls in this session. I would encourage you to go ahead and take those polls now, and we'll show those answers here in just a little bit. A couple of other things to note. Over here on the left side, you have a place where you can find more information about speakers, more information about sponsors. You can find other attendees here. I'm going to click on this. You can find attendees who are watching around the state and connect with these attendees. I hope Nate is watching. I'm going to click on Nate. From this view here, you can add Nate to your contacts and you can send him a message inside the event guide. And that'll show up here in your messages. The other thing I want to show everybody is this activity feed. This event feed is specific to Extension and Engagement Week, and this is a place that you can post and you can like and comment other people's posts. So this is a way that we can engage. We're sending David Burton's post here. Thank you, David, for sharing in the event feed. And then adjacent to that is the social wall. This is a collection of our Twitter hashtags for today. We're collecting hashtags ExtendMU, MU Engagement, Engagement Week, Show Me Resilience, and Missouri Workforce are the hashtags that we will collect here on the social wall. So if you're on Twitter, please feel free to drop a note on Twitter and then check this social wall, and that's where these things will show up. You'll notice here you have a notifications bar. This is where we're going to drop important announcements for you as the event goes on. This one here. Oh, pro tip, open the activity feed and social wall in a new browser tab by right-clicking the link and selecting Open in New Tab. Okay, the other engagement opportunities we have for everyone today are the click game, which many of you are familiar with from past events. We'll open that right quick so we can see people are already participating in the click game. This is where you're going to just add some fun photos and engage with your colleagues through this. We've got some trivia questions here, and I would like to point out we don't have a lot of fancy prizes this year, but for people who participate in the trivia game, the click game, participate in the activity feed, we are going to do a random drawing at the end of the event for a few items from the MU Extension prize closet. I'll show you a few examples of what I have here. We have a Show Me Resilience t-shirt. We have some very nice MU Extension pens. Feeling a little bit like a game show hostess this morning. We have MU Extension ponchos. MU Extension business card holders. We have some books. The How We Can Get More Done and The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey. And we have from our longtime partners, the Novak Leadership Institute, a gift bag which includes some books and a mug from our friends at Novak Leadership Institute. So please participate. If you have any trouble finding anything in the event guide, shoot me a note at insider@missouri.edu, and we'll share reminders about all of these opportunities to participate as we move throughout the day. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Marshall.
Well, thank you, Megan, and thank you to all of you again for participating. You know, as we go into this next part of our program, we're going to really focus on some of the things that we've learned this year, some of the things we've actually learned over the last few years, and how we pivot forward in going to that next step of what extension and engagement can be all about. But as I think about that, I think about my first time coming to an extension conference in the state of Missouri. And it was before I came to work here. It was 2014. Land-grant universities across America were celebrating the Smith-Lever Act, the 100th anniversary of that. And I was on the trail. I had been working at North Carolina State University for many years, and I had learned that if you are mildly entertaining and if you're a cheap speaker, a lot of people will take you. So I was free for most part or charged very little, and so people were asking me to do a lot of speaking about the land-grant university system and what it was about. And so in this particular week, I was actually at K-State one day, and I drove over here and spoke the next day at this conference. Little did I know, 2 years later, I would be here as a Vice Chancellor of Extension Engagement. Trust me, there was nothing in my mind that could be further from that. But life has an interesting way of taking you on a journey. I remember that first conference. I remember being here and in that 2016 environment as a new Vice Chancellor, and tremendous excitement. Some of you will recall me walking around, and I don't think I ate anything for 3 days because I walked around so much and talked to so many of you and got to know you and understand you. I was spending a tremendous amount of time in the state. And I was learning a lot. I was really doubling down on trying to figure out what we could do, not knowing what would be in front of us, but knowing that we needed to be nimble, we need to be flexible, we need to be agile as an organization within the University of Missouri if we were going to be successful. I also knew that we needed to be aligned tightly with the University of Missouri. We could not be Extension Island. We couldn't be out here by ourselves, but rather we had to be embedded in as a part of the tri-part mission of the University of Missouri. If you think about that mission, it's pretty simple. It's teaching, it's research, and it's extension, or as some of us now refer to it as engagement. But it is about that mission that I felt like that this institution had an opportunity to step forward. Little did I know that we would face great challenges. In fact, I remember it so well listening to those stories and going out in communities and being in, I think now it's 111, 114 counties over time, and listening and learning what was going on, because I knew at some point we were going to have to lead in more difficult times perhaps. Well, that difficult time came because this has been a year of difficulty. It's been a year where we've had to really step back and think about clearly who we are, what we can achieve, and how can we move the university forward in service to the people of Missouri. And I want to thank you as I begin this next part of our program for what you've done to make that happen. You've all worked together. It's been painful for all of us. We've all shared in that, but at the same time, we've continued to move forward. In fact, if you look at our data today, we are not only still serving a lot of Missourians, over 1 million a year, but we're also at the same time reaching new audiences because we're using new platforms that are enabling us to go to different audiences and reach people who never knew us. So in crisis comes this opportunity to think about how you do things differently. This example today is something that had you go back to 2014 when I first came here, or 2016 when I started here, I would have never dreamed we'd be doing one of these this way. But you know what? Because of it, we can reach more people. We have more people participating, being a part of this over this particular week this way than we could have ever had at the Holiday Inn here in Columbia, Missouri. So I want us to think about that as I go through this next presentation about, yes, the difficulties we've had, the challenges we've faced, but how we've come through that, and then what we can do to pivot for the future, because that's really what we've got to think about. As leaders, we are called to step into that and to figure out what we can do to ensure that Missourians are served and served well, that future generation of Missourians have what they need to ensure that they have the kind of futures that we all want them to have. So with that, we're going to walk through a few slides here. And as you look at the screen, you'll see 3 words. The first one is reality. I'll never forget March 12th of this year. I remember being on the phone with our team, and I refer to them as our cabinet. I remember talking with them, and Mark Stewart was the Associate Vice Chancellor. He was telling me things he was hearing. We were listening to a lot of data. I was actually out of state at the time dealing with a family emergency. And I remember when we were talking on the phone, and I had all of them on a conference call, and we were talking about things in terms of the next couple weeks and how we were going to have to maybe cancel a few activities. And I remember that 12th and 13th and 14th as we marched into that, and I was then on my return back here, realizing this institution was going to go to virtual as an institution and that life was going to change. But what I'm so proud of is that as that reality hit, was to see our extension professionals out across the state and on the campus pivot. And the reality was that we were going to do it in spite of everything. I also saw us through that become very resilient. It's been tough. We've looked at budget cuts, we've had tough times, and there will be probably more to come in different ways. But that resiliency has been something that has just impressed me beyond belief, because I hear these stories about how we serve communities and what we're doing. We had faculty in different positions around the state who we got calls, and particular counties or agencies said, can you loan us that employee for a short period of time to work on this project? And we did, because it was the right thing to do for Missourians. And I think if you do that over and over again, you not only deal with reality, but you're dealing with resilience to make the state stronger. And then I think about that third word of resolve. And that's where I see us today, is that we're moving from reality to resilience to resolve. And that resolve is going to make us better. We're going to be, in my opinion, stronger because of it. We're going to figure out how to do it better, smarter, quicker, more nimble, more agile. We're going to do all those things because we believe it's important that we serve Missourians and serve them well. Now, I want to take us back for a moment and think about what we learned. We learned that the economy, education, and health were important. We did that through a needs assessment. We went out and looked at data. We discovered that people were really having difficulty in the economy. Yes, there's a lot of good in Missouri, but we found a lot of people who were not seeing the needle move for their families maybe like the prior generation did. So the economy became a blinking signal for us. What does that mean about workforce development? What does it mean in terms of what we can do to bring more knowledge to the people of Missouri as an institution, not just in extension, but what can we do full measure for the whole institution? You know, we also looked at educational access, and what does that mean? And how can we provide a venue for more young people, more students, regardless of age, to come into the institution and experience all that we are as a land-grant university? You know, it's interesting to me that 54%, if you look at across Missouri, while we graduate 90% of our students on time from high school, only 54% go on to higher education. That's a number we can change. And that's a number we're really thinking about a lot. How do we do that? Because if you want that economy to grow, you've got to ensure that education is the centerpiece of that. And then I moved to health and well-being. You know, if there's one thing I've learned about Missouri, we've got plenty of challenges there. Now, we have a great MU healthcare system. We have a wonderful College of Medicine, nursing, health professions, and the assets that also sit in the other universities that make up the University of Missouri system. We have Next Gen, which I'll talk about in a few moments, which is the precision health initiative of this institution. But when I think about all those things, we've still got a long ways to go, because if you look at most of that data, we rank anywhere from about 38th to 45th in most categories, and that's not where you want to be. We can do better, and I do believe that health is the issue, probably among all. When you think about our strength in agriculture, our strength in food, and what we can grow, you tie that to health, you tie in our nutrition programs, you tie in all of our youth programs, you begin to surge into that with business and economic development and community development. There's no telling what we can do if we really double down on that. Again, not because we want to succeed out of it, but because we want Missourians to succeed out of it. So while we've been through tough times, these three pillars still remain. They're still the focus, that we want to make sure we're strong economically, educationally, and our health. So we move beyond that, and I think about how we deliver our work. You know, we have Classic Extension, and Classic Extension takes us back to 1914. It's where we generated knowledge, we created knowledge, we call that research, knowledge creation, and we applied it in community. There is no better way to do extension, engagement, outreach work than that. That is the way you want to do it in its highest form. And we do that extremely well at the University of Missouri. But I also would tell you there's another dimension to that, as I've learned and grown in my career, and that's called collaboration. And that's where you take the richness of the full institution, other partners, and you bring that to bear. You're going to see some of that tomorrow in our collaboration with the State Chamber of Commerce, where we're doing some things together, working together, again in collaboration with them, knowing that they have things to bring, we do, and together we can make Missouri better. And then it's at that community level. You know, oftentimes if you go back to the beginning of Extension, it was about we had the knowledge and we're going to impart that to you and help you fix your problem. Well, today community engagement is about them bringing their best ideas to us, we bring our best ideas to them, and in the middle of that you find a sustainable solution, one that matters to those people that live in that community, and that is community engagement. So I want us to always think about what it means to be an engaged university. It's all three levels of this, and that's why when you look at our full university, every college, every discipline, every part, every unit across the entire university can play in that space in some way. Be it athletics, a school of journalism, be it veterinary science, a college of agriculture, regardless, business, whatever it is, health professions, arts and sciences, don't want to leave anybody out, but my point is nursing, whatever it is, everybody can play in that space because in some way, in those three buckets, everybody has strength. So we move beyond that and we think about our strategy around that, and it was really to maintain a high-touch strategy. We know it's an important thing we do to stay connected. That human capital, that human connection that we have in Extension is what's made us unique over the years, but it's also cannot rest on its own. We live in a world today where there's tremendous technology. There's tools out there. And one of the great things we've created here in the last 4 years is this thing called All Things Missouri, which is now not only being used by our professionals in Extension, but being used across the state by many other partners, including people in state government, legislators, congressional staff. If they want to know anything about Missouri, they go to this space, because this is the one place you can go and learn it all. You can do comparisons, and what a tool to have. And I really compliment Chris Fulcher and that entire CARES team, because I challenged them in about 90 days to stand this thing up. They were telling me how long it would take to do this, and we did it in a very short period of time. And we've continued to improve it and make it better, and it will continue to evolve and be that tool that melds itself with high touch, so that together, between touch and technology, we provide something that's unique in Missouri that other states envy. And I can tell you, these two pieces together right now are the envy of many other states when you think about the work we do in Extension. I think about Extension and engagement in different ways as well when I think about not only what we do historically in Extension and the human touch, but also think about our wonderful programs in continuing education, which I inherited, and we've continued to see those flourish. Whether it's in nursing, fire and rescue, law enforcement training, MTI, or Missouri Training Institute, whether it be in veterinary science, regardless of the area, we've seen tremendous surge in that continuing education area. And I'm very excited about what we can continue to do in areas like executive education and other things that we can grow in over time to become even stronger. I also think about our broader engagement and the wonderful work that Susan Reno and others have done to really bring us into the forefront of that. Not only doing a good job with it here at the university, but being a national player in that space. And that's so important, that we be that player at that national table where we're influencing policy, and we are part of those conversations today. And it's something that we need to be very proud of and look back and say, look at what we did collectively over this 3 to 4 year period. I also think about where we are in terms of our staffing. You know, we put in place a new staffing model, and one of the things that I think is really important, and if you'll go back and listen to things I said over that period of time, one of the things I said, we're going to implement this new model, but that model will continue to evolve. It will continue to shift because needs move, and you cannot be static forever. So while many people have asked me, given the financial crisis we face, are we going to have to do a new staffing model, I'm sure we'll do staffing adjustments, because you'll have to in order to meet the needs of Missourians based on the conditions that are out there. But we're committed, very deeply committed to community engagement, county engagement, making sure that we're connected locally, and also ensuring that we have that depth and that reach in our field specialists to ensure that we continue to drive those programs. Yeah, it's a daunting challenge for me. How do you pull it all off? But we're going to do it because it's the right thing to do for Missourians, and if you do the right things happen. So again, committed to Missourians, staying focused, laser focused on what they need as it relates to the economy, education, and health. So now we think about our university initiatives and partnerships. You know, we've got some great ones. This gives you a short list of what are programs that we have existing in every college, school, or unit at the University of Missouri. We have partnerships with athletics, partnerships with the College of Business, partnerships with journalism, with health professions, with nursing, with the College of Medicine, with MU Healthcare. We have partnerships across the board. CAFNR, HES, you name it, we've got a partnership. Engineering, we've got partnerships across this entire campus today, and that is unlike anybody in America has. And what's beautiful about it is those colleges come in to work with us, bringing their strength, their knowledge, and then we become simply a facilitator of that. It's not like we're putting a bunch of money in these colleges to do this. This is because deans have decided that this is the right thing to do. It's because a provost has decided this is what we need to be doing. It's because a chancellor is committed to engagement as part of that tripart mission. So when you put it all together, we're being able to bring full measure of an institution out like no one else in the country, but it's because of those partnerships and that belief that all of those have in this greater mission of the institution. So I'm proud of that, yes, but there's more to come because we know that we can continue to grow in those in different ways as we move forward, and that's the right thing to do for Missourians. I also think about our engagement council. You know, we established this a few years ago. I'd been here about 6 months, and I was finding all these people that were deeply interested in engagement, and they were like telling me this. I said, well, let's pull them together. We assembled, at one point we had over 150 people involved in this, And one of the things I'm going to be doing, for those that are listening in today wondering, I'm going to be reconstituting this group. We've been working and sort of taking a pause during COVID-19, but you're going to be hearing from me in the next couple of weeks. We'll be reconvening this group to really look at the way forward. What can we do now that we've been through this period of challenge, and what does that look like as we go forward? How can we be better team players to work in this engagement space across this university? And I'm excited about that. So again, 150 colleagues, staff, faculty, others, leaders, administrators in different roles coming together collectively to talk about these critical issues of engagement. I'm also excited about our partnerships with the other universities. The other universities that we have, when you think about the strength of the University of Missouri system and some of the great work that Allison Copeland and Ashley Rohde have done with me in that world that I work in as well, it's been incredible to see the work we've done in terms of creating electronic platforms, virtual platforms, where the public can intersect with us. Our Community Connect platform, which has now a connection with all 4 campuses, is something that we're beginning to see people go to and use and intersect with to learn more about what's going on, and also allow us to tell our story better in those communities. There are things that UMKC, UMSL, and Missouri S&T that every county in this state can benefit from. And our dream and our goal is to ensure that happens. We're not going to dump stuff into those counties. What we're going to do is say, here are the programs we have. If you see something here that would fit your county, we want you to have, just like you have access to MU, we want you to have access to the other 3 as well. And what a wonderful thing that is to bring that to the people of Missouri. Also think about our healthcare finder. We were tasked by Dr. Choi to really think about health engagement. Knowing full well that there's a lot of opportunity to grow in this area, one of the things we had to do first, and we found this through lots of conversations, was to understand better what's going on in the state and what are our assets that we have right now through the University of Missouri system and all the 4 campuses therein and MU Healthcare across the state. If you go to this particular tool that's online, you can see where we have not only known partnerships, but many unknown things. There's a lot of times that you'll find that we're working with a particular partner in healthcare, and our name doesn't really show up big, but we're there. And what you find is, through the University of Missouri, we're serving the entire state pretty much in some way, either through extension and our health outreach there, or our health outreach through those existing entities that make up our health enterprise at the University of Missouri. Exciting things, and just starting. The last one that I would talk about is something that's been near and dear to me, because you heard me start talking about this. If you've been with me for this almost 5 years now, you've heard me talk about broadband for sure. Broadband access, in my opinion, is the single most important thing in terms of economic development, educational access, and health and well-being that we can do in the state, bar none. What's been interesting to me is once I got here and began to talk about it, and then I remember very well meeting with Dr. Choi, who's going to be on the program later today, and I remember us having this conversation. I went over to his house one Saturday morning, and we talked about broadband, and I said, here's what I'm doing. I want to make sure you're okay with it. And he looked at me and said, go for it. Makes sense to me. Because my thing was that if you don't figure that out, this university will always be stifled a little bit in what we can do. We got to figure that out. What I've been very gratified with was last year we focused on broadband in part of our engagement week, and there was a lot of pump and circumstance and a lot of noise around it. And what we've seen come out of that is a tremendous amount of resources coming into the state. We've seen partnerships evolving in various rural communities as well as urban. We've seen a lot of people get focused on that. So we have used our platform as a megaphone, and also creating a resource rail where people can go and learn more about what they can do in their community and how they can build those partnerships. So again, big things through partnerships, knowing that we're not the only player in any of these 3 spaces, but through partnerships, we're able to leverage things that allow us to serve the people of Missouri. So let's look at some of the other things we have. We have an advisory and advancement groups now that are standing up and doing great work. Many of them are with us today. We've stood up a brand new Extension and Engagement Advisory Committee. They've been working since July. And I'm very excited about these 16 people who represent not only Extension, 8 of them coming straight out of Extension councils at the local level, as well as 8 people who really focus and who come to us from the perspective of engagement. Exciting stuff, and more to come. Starting in 2021, we will begin to bring that group out more, and you'll see more of them. Right now, they're in an educational time of learning more about what we do and getting an integral knowledge, really deep knowledge of who we're about. I'm also excited about our philanthropy cabinet that James Preston has worked on so hard. And we've now met, and I might mention to you that we just passed a goal. If you go back 7 years ago, there was a goal set of about $8 or $9 million for MU Extension to have in terms of the whole campaign for the university. Well, I'm pleased to tell you that we met that goal and went beyond it. In fact, we hit $37 million for Extension. That's amazing. That's so far beyond anything we thought possible. And now we can do more. With this structure, we're going to be able to go past that $37 million in the next campaign, and who knows what we can do in our private resource development. So exciting times, exciting things we have on the forefront, not only from an advisory side, but also from a philanthropy side. COVID-19 has certainly shown us a lot. You know, I look at this list, and a little later today, you're going to hear from Andrew Zumwalt, and I've seen him on KMOU numerous times now as he's talked about financial things that are facing these people in community right now. That's exciting to me, because when I turn on my television on KMOU at 5 o'clock or in the evenings and I see that, I'm like, wow, that's MU Extension right there. I've seen us talk about things like our stories that you have had in those communities. I've seen 4-H Online have 250,000 visitors to their site. I've seen face-to-face programs going virtual and learning how to do that and getting our clientele to adapt to that as well. I've seen our CARES group with All Things Missouri doing some incredible work. Our Missouri Food Finder, which has enabled us to aggregate growers and connect that to consumers in a very meaningful way. I've seen our mental health telehealth effort go way out into community and really deal with one of the preeminent issues that we face in rural mental health, not only in Missouri, but nationally. The personal finance area that I've seen us work in has done incredible work to help people make good decisions in a very difficult time. And then one of my favorites was COVID-ready farms. To think about how we have people in production agriculture and what we're doing to ensure that they do the right thing around that. But you know who tells this story best? It's not me, but it's you. So I want you to take the next 30 seconds or so and take a look at this, because I think this really summarizes what we did not only in COVID-19, but what we're going to do in the years ahead.
From Rockport
to Portageville,
from Monette
to Cahokia.
Missourians are supporting Missourians.
We're still coming together.
Just as we have for more than 100 years.
We've changed the way we work
so that we can still stay connected.
Using Zoom,
Facebook,
and the local news.
To maintain community.
And bring you the same MU Extension.
The courses, events, and services you've come to trust.
4-H, workforce, webinars,
pesticide applicator training,
and creating new resources and tools
to support Missourians.
Families, farms, businesses, and communities.
Mental health.
Food safety.
Telehealth.
A healthy Missouri is our top priority.
We're so proud to be part of communities.
Tackling this new grand challenge.
By supporting access to education.
By helping local economies.
By improving our health and well-being.
By doing what we do best in Missouri.
Show me. Show me.
Show me resilience.
Wow, if that doesn't make you think about what we are. You see, it's not me, it's not any individual, it's all of us collectively working together. And when I see that and I think about this slide that you're looking at today, it certainly tees it up well. There is nothing more important that we can be doing in our work in Extension today than really focusing on the critical issues that deal with equity, diversity, and inclusion. You know, last year in 2019, I really spent a lot of time early in the year and going up through the summer trying to figure out what kind of structure I wanted to have to address this issue. After a lot of study, a lot of thought, a lot of reflection, I decided that I would create in the fall of 2019 the MU Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Council. I want to thank Dwayne James and the entire team that we appointed to that because they have done incredible work. I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to the good things they're going to have. And I want you to know, though, that this is something that you're going to see more of because we are deeply committed to ensuring that everyone feels included, whether they be a client, whether they be a person that's not currently a partner with us, or they're a person inside of our organization of the University of Missouri. We want to ensure that we are committed to this. And this is important work that you'll hear more about as we go forward later in 2020 and in 2021. As we move forward, I want to share with you a quick look at what you're going to see on the horizon. See, I think it's important to reflect on where we've been. It's important to say this is where we are, but it's also important for people to see with clarity this is where we're headed. So I'm going to give you some snapshots here of things that you're going to see us begin to talk about more and more over the next year. First of all, we're going to continue to talk about Next Gen, precision health. We're a foundation part of that effort, and you're going to see us really double down on that because it's not only important for the University of Missouri, it's more important for Missourians. And if we do this well with the collaborations that we have with that effort, we can do incredible things to ensure that we continue to improve Missourians' health. I'm also excited about broadband. You know, we've made great progress, and every spare dime that you find the state or the federal government has, it seems like they send us a little bit of that on broadband. And that's a good thing. And we're going to keep that noise at a high pitch because we want to make sure they continue to do that. We're also excited about new work we're going to see in science communication with our School of Journalism, doing some incredible work. And I'm excited about what that's going to mean because that's going to help our faculty across the campus do a better job of translating technical information into what can be used in community. I'm also excited about engaged scholarship. You know, engaged scholarship is one of those things that many universities have struggled with, but I'm excited that our provost is so engaged in this conversation with her team right now, thinking about how do we ensure that those people that do engaged scholarship, regardless of discipline, are recognized in the promotion tenure process. It has to be rigorous. It needs to show value. It needs to be publishable, but there's ways to do that, and we need to be a leader in that. I'm also excited about something that we're talking about now, a Center for Engagement that could be a global center for people, thought leaders, and others to come together to talk about engagement and what it means to be an engaged university. You know, what engaged university was in 1862 when the land-grant movement started is a very different thing today in 2020. But yet, those foundational pieces of service still remain. And we've got to capture that and continue to own that as the University of Missouri. Another area you're going to see us work in executive education. Some great work that Steve Devlin's working with our School of Business, College of Business on right now with Ajay Vinci. We believe this is an area we can really help in and be a partner to help good things happen in this space. We're also excited about health education, some of the great work that Kathleen Quinn that we're seeing happen not only there but also with nursing, also with Joe Britt Rankin, and so many others that have an interest in this area of health. Exciting times ahead. I'm also excited about workforce development, which you're going to hear more about tomorrow. But this is an area that Extension has a rich history. And when you think about what we've done in the past, it's about improving the economy by helping people have the skills they need to do better. And that's workforce development. And we're going to be a part of that conversation. I'm also excited about something that Lupita Fabregas has us involved in, the 4-H Pathways Leadership Institute, which is going to be a game changer for 4-H in this state and how we go about it, how we approach that effort, and what we will do in the future. Lastly, we're going to double Missouri agriculture by 2030. You know, that's a big goal, and Rob Collenbeck and others in that team have been thinking about this a lot, and I have no doubt we can do that. Missouri has a rich history in agriculture, and we're certainly not walking away from that. In fact, we're doubling down on that. We want it to be better, and we can do that collectively through partnerships, collaborations, and moving together. Today, as I close, I'm going to share with you something that you see on the screen now. I'm going to ask you to look at it as I read it. I thought about how to close this out, and I went back and found something called the Extension Creed. For those of you that have been in Extension a long time, you will recognize this. We don't talk about this much anymore, but I think it needs to be talked about because it is the heart and soul of what we do. And regardless of what role you sit in today, extension, engagement, outreach, if you're interested in serving Missourians through the university, this applies to you. I've taken some liberty, and I'll tell you that I've done that, to change a few words, to modernize it a bit, and also tailor it to MU. So with that, I'm going to read through this as I close out this part of the program. I believe in people, their hopes, their aspirations, their ability and desire to enrich their lives and plan the happiness of those they love. I believe that education, of which MU Extension Engagement is an essential part, is fundamental in stimulating initiative, self-determination, and leadership. That these are the keys to democracy, and that people informed by facts will not only in their self-interest, act in their self-interest, but also in the interest of society and the greater common good. I believe that education is a lifelong process, that the greatest university is the community, and that my success as an educator is proportional to my ability to evolve based on the ever-changing needs of people, communities that I serve. I believe in freedom to search for and present truth without bias through the lens of diverse viewpoints and in consideration of the lived experiences of others. I believe that MU Extension Engagement links 6 million Missourians with the ever-changing discoveries of university scholarship. And I believe in the University of Missouri for which I am a part. I believe in my own work and in the opportunity I have to make my life useful for others. Because I believe these things, I am the University of Missouri for Extension and Engagement. I don't think I can say it any better. It's who we are. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for sharing in this conversation. I hope this gives you not only some idea of where we're headed, but also gives you clarity that we're committed to double down as we never have before to ensure this work grows forward.